Welcome to our flipped classroom where math knowledge makes things easier. We're still on the topic involving adding rational numbers. Today we're going to be able to explain the meaning of a negative number and be able to assign a positive, negative, or zero value to real-life situations. Math is everywhere, but if you know what you're looking at, it doesn't need to be confusing. Let's look at zero pairs. We've already learned that integers include positive and negative numbers, and that every positive one can be canceled with a negative one. In other words, if you add 1 and then subtract 1, the result or the sum would be 0. A zero pair is a pair of numbers whose sum is 0. For example, if we have 4 positive tokens and we add to that 3 negative tokens, although you could look at this as 4 minus 3, we're going to be looking at some scenarios later where it's going to be easier to consider it as though you're adding positives and adding negatives. If we take each of these negatives, each negative one, and line it up with a positive one, we'll create zero pairs. This positive one and this negative one cancel out and become 0. This positive one and this negative one form a zero pair. Here's another zero pair. However, we had one more positive token than we had negative tokens. So we see that 4 plus a negative 3 would leave you with just one positive token. So 4 plus a minus 3 is 1. Now in class we spoke about the scoreboard. When the class earns points, or when the teacher earns points, we said that that really cancels out every positive point earned by the class. Here we have the class earning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positive points, but also earning 4 negatives. Each one of these positives is canceled out by one of these negatives. However, we had 2 extra positives, so we see that 6 plus minus 4 leaves us with 2 extra positive tokens. Let's look at a scenario where we have more negatives than positives. If we have 2 and we add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives, we know that every positive is canceled out by a negative. Each positive with its negative forms a zero pair. We have 2 zero pairs, so there's 2 zeros here, but we have 4 extra negatives. So we see that a 2 plus a negative 6 leaves you with negative 4. Now, terms that we're going to be using later involve credit and debit. Like with a bank account, when you're adding money to your bank account, it's called a credit. When you're taking money away from your bank account, it's called a debit. So here, when we are adding, we're going to call them credits, and when we're subtracting or adding negatives, we're going to call those debits. And we could see that the problem is still going to be exactly the same. If there are 2 credits and 6 debits, you're going to be left with 4 more debits than credits. So just like previously, this is going to leave you with a negative 4. Go ahead and work these problems on your own. Bring the answers to these 8 problems to class. Number 1, a student has 16 credits and 20 debits. What's her final score? Number 2, a student has 9 credits and 15 debits. What's his final score? Number 3, Alicia got 4 debits on Monday and 8 debits on Tuesday. What's her score for the week so far? Number 4, Maria got 5 debits on Monday and 5 credits on Tuesday. What's her score for the week so far? And then just looking at adding and subtracting. -7 plus 10. What's the sum? And if you have 8, a positive 8, and you're adding 3 negatives, what would the sum be? And -4, and you're adding another -4. What's the sum of those numbers going to be? And last, a -4 plus 4. What's the sum going to be? So today we explored negative numbers in regards to creating zero pairs, adding negatives, adding positives. Our standard is the 7th grade number system standard 7NS1. Be prepared to demonstrate your learning in class. I look forward to seeing you there.